Our countries have been allegedly spreading disinformation about everything that is happening in relation to the coronavirus, it would be inappropriate even to make comments, because not a single fact that might back up such allegations has been presented to us. That is false. For example, the pro-Kremlin news site Newsfront wrote an article about the Lugar lab in Georgia, alleging the coronavirus pandemic was karma for the U.S. Russian state media and other pro-Kremlin outlets have repeatedly accused the laboratory of responsibility for outbreaks and illegal experiments on humans, claims Polygraph Info and others have debunked. Russia's proxies in Ukraine's Donbas region floated another theory, that the virus could have been engineered in a Ukrainian laboratory. Much like the claims about the Lugar lab, claims about US-linked biological weapons testing and leaks of toxins in Ukraine are a common theme among pro-Kremlin media outlets in that country. Also like the Lugar lab stories, these narratives predate the COVID-19 pandemic by several years. Lavrov could find evidence of coronavirus disinfo in major Russian publications. A Polygraph Info analysis documented multiple examples of articles accusing the US of being behind the COVID-19 pandemic. They were published by major Russian media outlets, including the state-owned RIA Novosti news agency.
Welcome to the Gilchrist Experience. As you see, I've always made reference to the Russians being behind the misinformation about COVID and everything else. I've claimed since Trump was elected that the Russians had a lot to do with getting Trump. Us having to tolerate Trump for 4 years and still putting up with his nonsense. Him claiming that the election of 2020 was rigged, that he's really our president, that Biden is a false president. Trump is, every time he opens his mouth, he lies. As people well know, yet he got 74 million votes in 2020. But he's still claiming that he should be president. And never mind the insurrection on January 6th, which we still haven't gotten to the bottom of. I imagine when all this stuff is out, his lies will be revealed because God is real. He doesn't like ugly. So he shall pay. So keep the faith, and I think we'll be quite amused by the time when he goes to jail. And I think it's coming. So we have to stay sturdy and stay faithful and know that God is real. And I just went through a test, a 7-week stay in the hospital with a vaccination. I shudder to think the worries that would have occurred if I didn't have the vaccination. But we all have a difference in what we should be doing with our lives. And I think this confusion that the Russians have interjected into our society over the last 5 years is just a revengeance of Putin. Putin was fighting with Hillary Clinton. That's one of the reasons why he interjected his 2 cents into somebody that owed him some money, which was Donald Trump. Donald Trump claims himself that nobody would lend him money in 2012, and that the Russians, which are known gangsters, through Deutsche Bank, loan him money to get through his shenanigans, which he's always performed here in New York. Well, welcome back, or welcome home to Julian Hemmings.
Thank you, thank you.
Morehouse graduate. We first met when he was 15. This is 8 years later.
Yeah.
He's a graduate of Morehouse and my grandson.
Thank you.
Welcome home, brother.
I'm happy to be back. Happy to be back.
All right. Tell us your take on this, this theory.
Yeah.
My opinion.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many theories when it comes to the origins of the coronavirus, the impact of the vaccine And a lot of the times, these theories about it being created in a lab or the vaccine changing your DNA, they're so science fiction. But I think that there's been a major issue with, I think, the way in which the populace has understood research, right? That people are, there's I think because of the social media culture, and there's a quickness to acquire information, it's like we're uploading so much data that we never think to ourselves, okay, is the data right or wrong? Because the research aspect, because we're in such a speedy culture, has been, I think, diminished to such a level that it's almost non-existent. So people are just reading everything they're seeing, acquiring this misinformation out of a sense of like intellectual laziness, and it's damaging our country. I mean, there are stories about nurses being attacked while they're treating patients. There's a breakage of family members because of the radicalization that's occurring because people aren't doing their research. It's terrifying. There are statements saying that Facebook kind of promoted this stuff because they knew that people were being attracted to the information. The question is whether or not it's Facebook's fault. I don't know. I think that you could destroy Facebook and the same issue arises again because we have a culture of intellectual laziness. That's
we just had a whistleblower on in Congress testifying yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, people don't want to do the research. It's Facebook, Instagram, they're products of our culture, and the product is that people want to upload data really quickly, not analyze it, and just want to debate and want to fight. There's a division that's occurring because people don't know what they're reading. It's unfortunate.
Mary, welcome home.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Gilchrist, for having me back. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Before I begin, I just want to send out some condolences to the Harlem community based on the breaking news today that, for whatever reason, still don't have the facts, but a young man in the Harlem community has lost his life. So my heart goes out to any and everyone that's in Harlem and around the world that we are losing our young people at such a high rate. We don't know if it's misfortune that's been given to them or pushed upon them, or if it's just a misfortune of dealing with everything, social media.
Yeah. So there were so many things that were stated, and I really want to go through each one of them. So we're talking about the safety towards the vaccine.
Yes.
So when we look at what's inside of the vaccine, it's dead COVID cells, of course, and it's anything that's in a typical vaccine, salt, sugar, right, that enables people's bodies to respond properly to it. So, and the reason why it was done so quickly was because, one, China had the genetic information. They squared it off so well that they were able to present it to the U.S. and to other countries, so that there was like a speed force attack on the virus. And so, every virus is different. We were very lucky in the fact the virus was easily manageable, quote unquote.
But what was our president saying?
Oh, wait, and this is the thing, and I'm going to get to it.
Our president was saying it was a hoax.
Yeah, but I'm going to get to that. And something Officer Graham said is like, a vaccine, for instance, means that, more than likely you're not going to get it again. That's not true. A vaccine is more probable that you won't get it again. That's like saying, for example, that chemotherapy doesn't work because once you're done, or you can get cancer again, so it doesn't work. But it can. It just increases the probability that your body can fight against it. That's all it is. That's why the vaccine was. Oh, one second, Officer Graham, before you continue. I'm so sorry. And another thing, right, when it comes to certain things about the virus being created in a lab, that's what Trump said, and I don't want to bring it. I don't want to bring it to a political point, but that was the same kind of statements that were made about the weapons of mass destruction.
No
You bring it to these smaller countries, or not China's not a small country, but these less powerful nations. You bring these boogeyman theories towards China. And, I think a lot of people like those theories because they create tension between nations. And this can cause a war. Scientists have come out asking what were the theories behind it, what created it. There is no smoking gun when it comes to lab leak.
What was Trump's
No, that's what I'm
purpose?
saying. That's what I'm saying.
What was
I don't.
Trump's purpose for calling
So in my opinion, when it comes to Trump's
Didn't
purpose,
he get on 60 Minutes and own up to that? He knew it was serious. January 26th.
Yeah, so
you mentioned the same
so,
thing. This guy got
yeah,
arrested.
So when I say Trump's purpose in it, I'm not in his mind. I don't know his purpose. So I can speculate. And the thing with Trump is that he likes to remove blame, right? So President Trump called this thing Kung Flu, right? So that he can blame it on Chinese people, creating a very dangerous space for Chinese Americans. And our competitor, being China, financially speaking, if he puts it on them, what does that do? That creates a space now where China's the enemy. No one wants to work with China, and the U.S. is back on top. And Trump is no longer to blame, and he could win re-election again. So there's politics that were involved in it. It's a nasty process, but the truth of the matter is this. If you have the vaccine, if you don't have the vaccine and you have the antibodies against the virus, and you're exposed to the virus, you are twice as more likely to get COVID than someone who has the vaccination. That's the truth of the matter. The truth of the matter is that, COVID doesn't hurt your the COVID vaccine doesn't hurt your fertility chances. The truth of the matter is COVID does not have microchips in it. The truth of the matter is that the reason why it was sped through was that scientists overlapped their research and put it on top of each other because the issue was so great, and that COVID, even though it was a horrible disease and it killed a lot of people really quickly, we had the treatments and medicine, the basic infrastructure to handle this disease.
That's right. We did.
Yeah.
And we didn't.
But what's interesting? Trump had I think the mission to vaccinate 20 million Americans.
And he didn't.
He didn't. But Joe Biden came in within
And
40
he did.
days.
And he did.
100 million Americans.
That's correct. And you want to know something?
Leadership.
It's leadership, and that's what I'm saying.
And he's
in
a
the beginning.
Democrat.
No, what I'm saying is that I have to push the point that there are so many different variables about what has transpired.